So we got Chris from Planitar iGUIDE, and we are gonna go over the R1
It's
and kind of
beautiful.
talk about what are we talking about? Some tips and tricks. Is that what it was?
Yeah, for sure. I think what I probably could do is point out some things that I think are really interesting and cool, and then definitely some tips and tricks because there's some things that I do that aren't weird, but they're definitely maybe something that people wouldn't have thought of. That's, I think, really cool.
Should I fire it up and turn on the screen share, or do you want to just
Yeah, go for it.
okay?
I'll talk about it first, actually.
Okay. Well, you can talk about while I'm getting that together.
Cool, cool. So the Planix R1, in case anybody doesn't know what it is I'll just give you a general overview, is the latest and greatest iGuide camera system that allows you to capture 360-degree images and LiDAR information at once to have processed into the iGuide 3D or immersive tour and floor plans. And so it is, I would say, just right off the top, you know, the fastest, most feature-rich, most usable, we'll say usable, we'll come back to that later. Um, and technically the least expensive iGuide camera that's ever existed. So it has been made, it was made, it was designed, uh, with like a decade's worth of experience and solving problems and trying to improve the quality of life for the people using it, which is very cool. And that's something I really vibe with because I was a photographer myself. So a lot of those lessons are baked in, and it has a lot of really nice features essentially that translate into a very professional product that works really well in almost every situation and can get you professional results. And you have that on top of like, the sort of flexibility that iGuide already has anyway. So it makes it even better.
Yeah. I've done an unboxing video, and while I was doing the video, I kind of compared it to the Planix Pro that I
Yeah.
have sitting over here. I don't want to get out now, but it's lighter for sure. It's a lot more compact, and I like this design versus the Planix Pro case. You know, just having it all in that kind of bigger case, because this you can easily just throw in a
That's
backpack or
right.
even a camera bag.
Yeah, you got it. It's designed in such a way that it has a really big cover. Oh yeah, it's got a sleeve you can put it in.
Case
That's kind of
is
cool.
handy too.
It has a big cover on it, so that means that all of the, precious things, the lenses and the things that shouldn't be touched are covered by this big plastic cover. The system shield, yeah. And that's like that is unique and weird in a good way.
Oh,
Um,
I don't have my water bottle on me, but
you put on your belt loop, you slay. We thought of that, yeah.
dual
We're cool.
purpose.
But the system shield and that sleeve mean that although it does come with like a fancy bag you can carry
Yeah,
around with it, you can just throw it in whatever bag you have. So I've got like a zillion bags, and I meticulously arrange all of my weird,
yeah.
quirky bits of gear in such a way that I can take them all at once. And I know rolling bags are quite popular in rolling cases. I don't have one. That's something I don't think my wife would let me buy right now. But my bag has, it has my camera, my regular camera, wide angle lenses, and then I have this, and then I've got a few other doodads, and that's what it was designed for, to go into whatever bag you want to use. Planix Pro
Yeah,
is a little more like, unusually shaped, so usually requires its own. You can still put it in another bag, but it
yeah.
really sort of necessitates, because
And
of its shape,
oh,
that it
gotta
goes into
bring these.
a bespoke case. Yeah.
Comes with so you guys just are sending out cases on cases on cases. So this is
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So the sleeve that it goes in, that's your cue that it can go in like another bag, right? Because when you buy any lens, what does it always come with? Oh, it comes with a lens pouch or a
yeah,
little zippery pouchy thing. So this is similar in the sense that you don't want it to get scuffed up. So you wouldn't throw it in like your bag with your keys or whatever, but you can if you want to, but you probably want it to look pretty. So put it in the sleeve, throw it in your bag, and then it can go along with all your other stuff, which is awesome.
I ship a lot of Pelican type cases as part of my camera rental business, and they always laugh at me at FedEx because I insist on putting them in a cardboard box. And
Yeah.
I said I don't want the case to get.
You want them to look nice.
And they're like, we can just slap a label on it. And I'm like, no, 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 put it in a box.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I agree with that. That makes sense.
and the battery is cool.
Yeah, the battery is, yeah, that's a slam dunk, that one. So that's a Milwaukee M12 battery. And that means that you can buy them like anywhere. You can buy them at Home Depot.
So is it any M12? No matter what does it have to say high output on it, or
I think they, so I'm not an expert on all Milwaukee M12 batteries, but I do know that there are different amp hour ratings, and I think they're all mostly high output. I don't know if there aren't high output ones, but we recommend that one specifically. Those are quite common. I think that's is it the 1.5 or the 2.5 amp hour version?
2.5
But
amp?
the higher capacities will work too.
Yeah, as I
That's
say, I
not
wonder if you got like a 3.5 or something, would it be able to power it longer? Maybe.
same. It will same form factor. It's fine. It won't change anything other than obviously the runtime. So
Printed at your house.
that I wish, wouldn't that be nice? I probably could. I could give it a try, but it needs to clamp on, so it has to be that injected molded thing. But yeah, you can swap it out. So that's really nice. They're available anywhere. So in a pinch, if you had to go and get one, you could. The other cool thing, it's like a hidden thing. Not hidden, it's just something we don't really talk about, is that the charger for the battery is like USB-C powered. And
Yeah.
it's so convenient because when you're like in your car, you already have like USB cables or whatever. So when yeah, and it comes with a really good charger. Actually, that's like a 65-watt fancy schmancy charger. But the charger, that thing, yeah. You can plug it in like it's just USB-C, so you can
Yeah.
plug it in anywhere, and it will use the higher voltage power delivery, protocol to charge faster. So it's really cool.
I
Really nice quality of life thing. So it's kind of cool.
had to buy a EcoFlow River something or other for my Tesla
Oh,
because
like a big yeah.
yeah, because I didn't have enough power to even power my laptop in it. So I use that now to actually power stuff. I guess the one benefit is it doesn't suck from the battery of the car, but it does power things a lot quicker than the car does.
Yeah, it's funny because I've just got battery packs for days. Like they're
Yeah,
all over the place. They're so ubiquitous now that this being compatible with that is nice. If you've already got like a bunch of chargers and stuff, there
battery
you
packs for
go.
days.
It's really convenient. It's funny. It's not something you'd think about, but it's quite nice.
Look at that.
Ooh, fancy schman. I don't even have one of those yet. I have one of the old ones. I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
works pretty good. So part of the swag. Uh, Not included with the purchase of the R1, by the way. Let's say that. Um, but one thing I liked about it is no uh, thumb drive, no flash drive.
Yeah, so this comes up a lot. Um, I think a lot of people are used to storage on the camera. Um, and then in a lot of cases used to storage on a smart device. So I think for existing users who are used to storage on camera, it's a bigger shift than for most people, like new adopters of the system. But essentially, all the data captured by the camera is stored on your phone or your tablet.
Yeah,
And at first, I'll be honest, I didn't like it that much, but now I'm like totally used to it because when you capture and it all goes on your smart device, it's just files and folders. So if you have an iPhone, you just tap like files, I think, and then you go
yeah.
look and there's like a little Planix folder. It's the same on Android, but that's it. It's just a bunch of folders. And I always have my phone with me. So that means from an efficiency perspective, I just don't have to go open the case and like pull out the drive and plug it in. It's just on my phone. So I can just,
No,
just have it. It's great.
that's huge. Out here in good old Bay Area, California, I often worry about getting things stolen from my vehicle when I'm not near it. And to that point, I've literally have taken memory cards out of cameras and you know
Yep.
and just carried them with me if I went into a restaurant or something to eat.
It's
Because if the
wise to
camera
do
gets
that.
stolen, it's fine. But if the data gets stolen, I don't
Yeah.
want to have to go back and redo all that work. And so, it's huge for that. And then also, I back up everything. So I have scans and photos from the beginning of time. And
Yeah, on that note, let me actually show you something. I have to stand up to get it. I should have planned ahead. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So, most cell phones, I want to say all, I don't really know. Um, will be compatible with portable storage drives. So I've adopted a thing. So this is one of the tricks that I think is pretty cool. And this might be super nerdy. I don't know. But basically, when I'm shooting and I'm using my phone, I too am slightly obsessed with backups. So all the data's on my phone. Now, I don't think my phone's going to fail or anything, but I have, dropped my phone screen down and smashed it
Yeah.
multiple times. So, so what I do is every time I shoot a project, after I'm done, I just sit in my car and I connect this essentially is an M.2 drive in an enclosure. It's a USB. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep. So I just plug it into my phone and it's just an iPhone and it recognizes it and I just copy the project over. And now I have the data here and I have it here. And and then when I get home, I just plug this into my
Yeah.
computer and copy it all off and it's super fast. So I don't have Apple computers. I have an iPhone and then I have Windows computers. So I don't have the option to just AirDrop data from my smart device over. But everyone loves that who has that ability. I don't personally do that. I do this sort of weird backup thing, but that is really cool too. And I could see
I
that being
feel like you're my
super
brother
valuable.
from another mother because we have very similar, like I'm on a PC and I have
Yeah.
Apple devices. And what I found, what I do is I'll export thing export things from my iPad and save it in the iCloud folder
Yep.
files, and then I'll launch it on my desktop in a web browser and I'll download from there.
Yeah. So just to be super confusing, have paid for years for Google Drive. So I haven't, this is just old habits, right? So I'll do the same thing. So if I'm using a smart device, sometimes I'll think, oh, I'll just put it on Google and I'll literally upload it.
I forget about it.
And quite frequently, yes. But if it's a project, I have done that as a test, and it's honestly, it's very quick to upload a project, like even from the field, depending on where you are and if you have 5G, good 5G reception. And then when you get home, don't even worry about phones or anything. You just go and download it right from there. It depends on how much time you have, like in a day. Like sometimes I'm just like shoot, 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 shoot. So I don't have time to sit there and upload stuff. But if I do, I'm having lunch or something. I don't know. It's not that hard. Um,
Yeah, I spend at least 4 hours a week moving files around.
Yes, a lot of time. One of the things I like about the wired option is that it creates a physical backup and it's quick. It's so quick.
It's quick. Yeah.
So that's it. Just copy paste done. It takes 2 seconds, super easy. And then in Windows, if when you go from, so I could go just from the iPhone to Windows, for example, and there is a utility you can use to do that. It's called Apple something, and it's available in the Microsoft Store, whatever it's called. And like it's fine, but it's not as it doesn't give you a lot of information. So if you're moving gigabytes of data, it's
Yeah.
not super clear about like what the progress is. So this is just it's just a storage device. You just copy paste. It's super
Yeah.
easy. And then again, I have a backup. I got used to having just all my files sitting on a drive somewhere. So this is probably just old man stuff, but but I like it. It's nice, you know.
Have a I've built a 84 terabyte NAS server.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that has a 10 gig Ethernet, uh, yeah, 10 gig network card, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm just putting everything on that, and I can lose like 4 hard drives and still have all my data.
Yeah, I have a RAID system in the other room there.
Yeah,
And same thing. Yeah. And it's nice. I keep everything. I think a lot of people are like us. They keep everything. So being able to move that data around is awesome. And that's something that you keep with the R1, which is very cool. So one of the things that you can do with any iGUIDE camera, and you'll know this, IMS 5, 6, and now R1, is that you have access to all that data. And you can do
yeah,
whatever you want with it. So it's not like trapped on your iPad or whatever. You can move it, to anything you want, put it somewhere you like, keep it for as long as you like, and you can bring it back out and reprocess it if you want.
yeah,
So that's really cool, especially for hoarders like me, data hoarders, because I like to keep everything all organized in sequential folders with like all my images and all the media
yep,
created for a property. And then I'll also put the iGuide data in there too. And that's all just nicely nested and that's it.
yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Um, okay, so why don't I'll turn it on and connect to it, and we can do it.
Yeah.
Charlie.
I'll tell you if you can show the interface, I'll tell you my preferred settings.
Yeah, let me. So I'm gonna turn on now.
Oh yeah, actually, if you hold it up with the screen, people can see one of the quality of life issues that was addressed. So all electronic devices require some form of like setup, and it's always a hassle, no matter how easy it gets. It's always going to be a bit of a hassle. So with other systems, there it is. So that's a QR code. With every device, they come with a little instruction booklet and it's a whole thing. And you have to follow some steps. With the Planix R1, you just download the app, choose connect to camera, and you just scan that code. And that's it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculously quick. I
I,
love it.
I didn't scan the code. I think I connected to the SSID and then
Yeah.
I launched the app and I just hit plus and it did it.
So you did it like the way how most existing iGUIDE users are kind of used to that, just connecting via Wi-Fi, and that's you can do it. Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. But the way the code works is that it automatically recognizes the Wi-Fi hotspot of the camera, like that code is configured to the camera, and then it just auto logs in with the password and everything. It's like encoded into the QR code. So that means that all you have to do is press add new device, and then you scan it, and it'll automatically add the camera and
Yeah,
connect to it. And you can scan it to just log into the camera as well. You don't have, if you've already added it, for example,
nice.
you can just tap it
Are you able
and
to
then
see
the
the
camera.
screen okay?
I can, yeah, it looks good.
Sweet. Okay. So I did connect earlier just to make sure this process was going to work of sharing the screen on here. So I will click on it. Wants to join the network, hit yes. The amount of hoops I had to jump through to get this screen sharing
But yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
almost had me going to Apple Store to buy a new MacBook.
So it says you're connected. There's a little green dot implying,
Oh,
good
sorry.
job, you did it. Oh, that's okay. So yep, I guess,
Um, yeah,
you have a
earlier
lot of,
when I connected, it was set up on the 2.5 gigahertz network, and it
yeah,
said recommend 5. So I just went to settings and changed it over to 2.4, and I went to settings and changed it to 5.
yep, yep.
So here we are in settings. Um, is there anything here you would change?
Nope, no, I wouldn't touch anything in here. I use inches instead of centimeters. That's one thing I might
Oh
change,
yeah.
depending. Quiet mode, nah. Live LiDAR is really cool. Definitely leave that on. I actually, yeah, there is one thing I probably would change, but this is a Chris thing. There's an option for coverage. I actually turn it down a bit, and that's because I prefer the old look of mostly LiDAR data versus the coverage option. So what coverage does, in case someone listening doesn't know, is that it will basically fill in the space that's captured. So what you see when you capture a space is you see basically an outline of
Yep.
that space. The LiDAR is going to measure it. So coverage is there to help people understand what they've captured if they're not really very good at looking at, outlines. And so that coverage slider affects like how much of that space gets like, or how much it is filled in, essentially the opacity of the fill. And so I turn it down just because I prefer the sort of the outline. That's it. It's
Um,
personal preference. It doesn't make much difference, to be honest.
okay. I'll keep it in the middle just because that's I think where my other ones are. One thing I noticed is this 1662 gigabyte. Like that's crazy. That's a lot of storage.
Yeah. So it's basically, it just tells you how much storage you have on your phone. So
Yeah.
you have a
No,
lot.
yeah, it's like yeah,
So, well, here, I'll give you, we'll get real
it's
nerdy
a lot
for
of
fun.
doors.
It is, yeah, it's a lot. That's another thing that's nice about smartphone storage is that because smartphone storage is so plentiful now, like it's not as big a deal as it once was. 64 gigs is very common. 128 is also very common. So that's a lot of tours. The average scan, a single scan, is going to be with R1 like maybe 10 megabytes,
Yeah.
roughly, if you want to just do some quick math. And so just, think about that. 100 scans, 1,000 meg, like that's not much, to be honest. That's obviously it adds up over time, but or over larger properties. But that's still, that's a lot of space and a lot of tours for most smartphones. It's a common concern. The will I have enough space, on my smart device? And the answer is almost always, yeah, you're fine because the amount of data captured for each scan is so low. It's only about 10 megabytes. So yeah, it's
Unless
usually
you
fine.
ever download your photos and you run out of
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's different. So if you're a huge video content creator who uses your phone and you're just moving massive amounts of data, maybe. But almost everyone who does that is already found a solution for moving that data off their phone anyway.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like I figured out how to move. Well, I didn't figure it out. I started experimenting with moving the data from my phone onto here for video a while ago because sometimes you'd go and you'd capture a whole series of videos, and because I'm going from Apple to Windows, it was just so cumbersome to get the data over. So I found out that you could just put it on an intermediate drive and then just move it over. And it was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
How convenient.
So one thing I'm noticing on here is there's no HDR settings like on the Planix Pro
Right. So those are in line, sorry, rather in the right in the shooting interface.
survey.
You got it. Yep.
Oh,
So if you tap in the bottom left-hand corner on the little icon that has a camera and a gear, you're going to see, oh, yep, that's the one, that screen. So this screen gives you everything. So they're all the settings. And so it's not very complicated, and I can explain it all like right now in
let's
about
go
like
over
2 minutes.
because I recently, I just usually on the Planix Pro use the Ricoh HDR setting,
Yep. And so this
and
is very similar and equivalent. It's better, to be honest, but it's same kind of setup.
yeah, but
If you
I
get
wanted
around
to
to
play
them.
around with the different settings, and so maybe you could explain where you would
Absolutely.
use a high, medium, and a low for the H.
That's all I'm here for. As soon as we finish this, I'm just going to phone it in. That's yeah. So so the HDR settings are set up uh basically like low, medium, high, and you can see we've added those descriptions in there to give you that kind of sense that high is more HDR and low is less.
Okay, yeah,
And the actual bracket numbers are there because we're kind of nerdy and people like to know this stuff. It's not required. You don't need to know what that means, but I'll tell you anyway. But then there's also it's not a hidden setting, but it's like off. So if you look at the little toggle in the top right hand corner, if you tap it, that's just no HDR. So basically that means that if you tap it again, you're turning HDR on, and then you have three settings to choose from. So if you're going to use HDR, probably 99% of the time, anyone listening, you're just going to use the high setting. Like there's no reason really not to, with a couple exceptions. So high is -5 + 2, and that's a fancy way of saying it's going to bring down the highlights. So it's going to get you some detail through the windows, and it's going to bring up the shadows a little bit, but leave them sort of intact so that things don't look like fake and weird. Because if you take HDR too far, it looks weird. So high is the compromise that we've used for years. The same formula. Everybody likes it. We like it. It's good. So mostly just use that. Medium is it's to taste. Some people like this better, and it has a lot to do with the shadows more than anything else. So you can see it's -3 +3 instead. So that means it works a little less hard on the highlights, but pushes the shadows up a little more. So this is almost like a high visibility setting. You're going to get like maximum detail with this in the interior.
okay,
And so that's cool. But again, it's to taste. Not everybody likes that setting. So you kind of have to try them out and see what you like. Again, if you never touch this, leave it on high, you're fine. But if you want, give it a go, try medium, see what you think. Low is there because that is a suitable setting in some cases for when HDR is partially relevant, but you're not trying to preserve these massively bright highlights in a dark setting. So maybe you're outside, you're in an exterior, you want a little bit of HDR, but you don't need to go overboard with the high setting, and that's why low is there. So you basically just have to use it a few times, and we have some examples you can also go look at, but you basically use it a few times, try it out, see what you think. Um, the setting that you choose will very mildly affect the capture time. When I say mildly, I mean like, yeah, there's an effect because if you're doing, for example, a longer exposure, you're waiting for more light, it's going to take longer. But we're talking like a second or two. So there's really no compromise in terms of time with regards to these settings. Just pick what you want, what you think looks good, and you're golden. I guess the exception to that would be just HDR off. It is just quicker with it just off. So if you're scanning spaces where you literally don't care, then you might as well just turn it off.
yeah. I usually use that for closets where I'm not trying to show the detail,
Exactly.
or garages.
Yep. The spaces where you don't, it doesn't, no one's like, it's not aesthetic. It doesn't matter. And there's not a lot of like really important detail. HDR can be valuable in the context of scanning spaces that are they're not. It's not about aesthetics. It's about detail. So I'll give you an example. A room where maybe it's a ceiling assembly and it's all painted black or something.
Yeah,
And so that is dark and there's pipes up there and wiring runs and stuff. And you do want to see that. It's not for marketing. It's just there because you want to look at the details. HDR is pretty useful for that. So you might want the medium setting because it'll pull out a lot of the details. So it's good. Fire investigations, everything's black. So it's useful to use the medium setting because it pumps up the shadows a little more. But really, you choose what you want. There's no compromises in terms of time. It's just what you think looks good. And because it's like any other iGUIDE camera, you can shoot it. It's just digital photography. You can shoot it and then change your mind and just shoot it again with a different setting and see what you think looks better later. It's totally
Yep.
fine.
Okay. What about noise reduction?
Right. So noise reduction is really cool. I don't know any other camera that has it built in like this, but the way noise reduction works is that again, it's set up low, medium, high to give you a sense of what's going to happen. But it's going to take multiple exposures and combine them to reduce the noise. So similar to HDR, if you don't care about noise, then you can just turn it off. Like, if you're doing closets and stuff, like it doesn't matter. No one's going to look at it and it's not about aesthetics. But there are different standards for residential real estate, for example, or commercial shoots where you want the scans to look nice. And that look nice. This is a very subjective term, so there's some options here. And what low, medium, and high do is apply a process where images are combined to limit the noise. And when I say noise, I mean the sort of the grainy, speckly, sensor noise that you would see from any digital camera.
So in the Bay Area, low is under $500,000. Medium is
Kind of.
500,000
Well,
to 1.5 million, and then high is 1.5
well,
plus.
kind of, but I'll tell you the trick. So it doesn't matter. The the list price doesn't necessarily matter
Yeah.
because the way you use these settings is dynamically in a shoot. So for example, if I'm going to shoot a closet, I can turn it off.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do it just for a closet. I wouldn't care. But if I were going to shoot a very fancy part of a house, something that's like really relevant, put it on high. Why not? And the downside with this one is that there is a cost in terms of time. So the average capture time, with the sort of, or I should say, the fastest capture time is really fast with this camera. If you turn off HDR and noise reduction, it's going to shoot in like a couple seconds. Like it's real quick. Now it depends on the ambient light. So if it's like there's no lights on, yeah, it's
Only
going
as
to take longer.
fast as you can get away from the camera.
Pretty much as fast as you could dive down behind furniture. But there's also two-shot mode built in here, which I'll get to in a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
But basically, if you turn up the noise reduction, it's going to double that time. So you're looking at like sort of 2 to 4 seconds, and then it's going to go up to kind of like 8 seconds, and then it'll go up to kind of 12, 15 seconds, and then it'll go up closer to 18, 20 seconds. So having it on high does take longer, but then nicer areas of a house usually warrant spending a
Yeah.
little more time. So that's usually not a big problem. So scans with this camera are, sub 30 seconds. And so if you're thinking in terms of how quickly you're capturing a property as approximately, this depends on how quick you can physically move through a property, but around 2 scans per minute, that's like really fast. Like that's like you're running. So on high, you're there. It's 20 seconds ish to scan 1820. So you can shoot on high and still move really fast through a property. What the extra speed allows you to do, which I think is really cool, and I will do a lot, is just shoot more. Like it's often that I have a shoot at, I don't know, 9 a.m. and then I've got another one at like 1 or something. So I'm not necessarily always in a hurry. I mean, I'm in a hurry because I want to go like do something else, like go eat lunch or whatever. But
Right.
the the sometimes I want to spend some extra time. So, you can dynamically change the settings to suit your environment and you can spend time where you need it, I should say, rather than blanket spend a lot of time fussing with the hardware. You can control it so that it spend more time in the locations that require that extra time. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'll tell you. I was just as you were talking, I was going back and looking at some of the iGuides that we've provided recently, and you know, me being a purist, I've only ordered the premium iGuides.
Yeah.
And so I probably would pick either medium or high HDR, and then probably a medium or high noise reduction. But we did a roughly 900 square foot apartment, and I think I had like 20 scans, 25 scans.
That's a lot of scans.
Yeah, is it? One,
Yeah,
two.
well, it
I try
depends.
to do
So
two to three per room.
it's all relative. It's funny. There's a broad spectrum of tour types that you can make. You know what I mean? Like some people will shoot one scan for large spaces, and that's okay. it creates a really boring tour. So to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
honest, so if you're trying to show a space and give people a lot of points of view from which to view that space, then usually you want to shoot more. So 20 is not that weird, but that's you probably could have got away with fewer. It depends on how complex the space was, I suppose, because each discrete space would need its own scan.
yeah. But then I have photographers who will do five, six, seven per room.
Yep.
So yeah, it can affect the time, but I still think maybe in comparison to competitors, you're definitely going to get through a house quicker with the R1 versus some of the other cameras that are out.
In the real world, it's significantly faster because of a whole bunch of different things combined together. So the main one is probably just capture speed. You push a button, you wait a certain amount of time, it does something, and then you can move on. So it's fast. It's very, very fast. You can scan a room on settings that will say low noise reduction and high HDR in like 8 seconds.
Yeah,
8 seconds is pretty quick. If it sometimes feels like a long time when you're doing it, but that's pretty quick. So 8 seconds and add that up times 20 scans. That's pretty fast. The interesting thing though is that the way that this camera works is the way most iGUIDE cameras work, in that it's not fussy about things like doors open or closed or the environment changing or going back to rescan things. So in the real world where life can be a little bit messy, this camera has the same advantage as every other iGUIDE camera in that you can just work around that stuff.
yeah,
So where the competition kind of maybe falls apart, I won't name any specific names, but if you change the environment, you have problems with some technology.
correct.
So that's just not a thing with this camera. It's just going to be fine. So that means that you can go and scan a bedroom, and then an hour later, someone's like, "I need to move the bed over here. Can we? I know you just did a video. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Like you can rescan it. It's not a problem." So what would have taken maybe 20, 30 minutes longer to readjust with a different technology is just a non-issue. It's another 8 seconds. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's very forgiving.
Um, yeah, no, it's good. Stitching.
Right. So stitching is a fun one. The explanation there is very appropriate. I probably wrote that, so that's why. But the static versus dynamic is something that affects the stitching between the two lenses. So the Ricoh Theta X, that's on the top of the camera there, has a two lens system that captures 185 or 190 degrees, and then 190 degrees, and it needs to stitch them together. The way they're stitched is obviously configurable. Dynamic is going to look nicer. Static is going to maybe have occasional parallax errors when you're really close to something, but will be more accurate and will have greater capability to use a measure mode in the iGUIDE. So if you go to any like don't do it now, but if you were in an iGUIDE and you went to the on-screen measurement, there'll be this sort of area that's not recommended that you measure. That's like massively reduced to like just a small area when you use static stitching. So dynamic stitching for almost anything related to marketing, all the time. Never change it, but occasionally, and you'll probably have the situation where you're going to scan something where measurement is what's important. Then static stitching is what you want, and it will have a very small aesthetic effect on the images, but it will greatly increase the ability to use on-screen measurements later.
But and that's not affecting the accuracy of the floor plans as far as square footage. It's just
Nope,
on-screen measurements.
it's just the on-screen measurements. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going with dynamic.
Yeah, most people are going to leave this page at high, lower, medium, and then dynamic, and basically just like never change it. And that's the noise reduction is just this that like you just have to choose what you like better. Some people are more um, prone to hitting situations. So you probably get this in California, right? Where you have these like interiors that might be darker, really dark, and you have these exteriors that are super bright. So you might get some noisier areas, if you're in a property where it's like, I don't know, there's like brown leather furniture and
We
like
just did one.
shadows everywhere and everything.
I just did
So
one at the beach, and it was like a canaverous living room, and then you go out
yeah.
on the patio, and it's bright, and there's the beach off in the distance.
Yep. So all cameras struggle with the noise in dark areas. So you might think, you know what, I'll turn it up. But again, dynamically you can turn it up and then you can turn it off for when you're doing stuff that doesn't matter and you're just measuring.
Nice. Um, I plan on doing a series of videos of all the modes, all the different combinations on the same house.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
so
I
that
love
people
that.
can see examples and compare, apples to apples of here it is with, high HDR, low, medium, and high noise reduction, medium
Yeah,
HDR, low, medium, and high.
it really is a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
Some people prefer one setting over another just because they like the look of it. It sort of is what it is. And that's okay. People are allowed to like what they like.
Yep. Uh, so what else do we have? Anything?
Right. So there's two other pretty important things here. One is two-shot mode. Two-shot mode is a carryover from Planix, but it is kind of awesome. And what it does is when enabled, it will allow you to capture twice, and then it will automatically subtract you from the image, which
Now,
is really handy.
yeah, no, on the Planix Pro, when I'm in a space or even outside where I can't hide anywhere,
Exactly. Yeah.
I use the two-shot mode, and I tend to stand what I call in front of the camera, which is in front of the screen for the first shot, and then go around to the back.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yep.
Okay, so is that still recommended with this one?
100%. Yeah. So you can think of the first side as the side with the controls on it, because typically that's where you would stand because you'd want to turn the camera on and off and look at the screen,
Yep.
right? So that's side one. And then when you walk around, that would be side two. Um, Fun fact, just because why not? If you mess it up, there's a way to reverse it later, because there is this sort of panic moment that people have when they realize they're in every 360 twice.
Yeah.
So they added a thing in so you can switch it if you want.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
the other thing that's cool, bottom right hand corner, is there's a big button for tagging now. So tagging has makes just an enormous amount of sense for almost every industry at this point. And tagging is, in case the listener doesn't know, is just adding a marker or a tag in 3D space on any thing, any item or feature that you want to highlight, and then adding some additional information onto that. So that's text, pictures, or
Yes.
video.
Yep. Yep.
So from a real estate perspective, that's almost always like, hey, check out this cool stove or this faucet or, detailed photos,
Yeah.
or countertop or whatever. Very popular lately is including links to like the fancy appliances or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
showing the stove, but then linking right to like whatever the website is. Um, and then including like links to the manuals and stuff. But for something like insurance, that would be for like, if you're recording a space for to show the defects, you would show like here's the water damage and you take a picture. And then
Um,
there's probably a myriad of other cool uses for tags, but you can add them while you're shooting, which is very convenient.
I was thinking of a house. I would just as kind of a perk to the agent take a picture of the water heater, maybe the furnace, to
Yes,
show that and show how old it is because those are questions that come up. Um,
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
my question is if I wanted to take pictures of like the fancy stove, but I didn't want to sit on site and look for a link to it, can I edit the tag later and
Oh yeah,
put a link to it or change the video, change the photo later before?
100%. Yep. So I'll give you a couple examples of where, yeah, that totally makes sense. So adding tags on site is a great way to like not only just add it if that's what you want, but then also put a reminder in that you need to go add content to that later. So not only can you add links and things, but you can use different photos. So if I go up to like a really fancy stove, I'm not going to use my cell phone to take a picture of the stove, but I can, and then I can go into the iGUIDE portal later and swap it out with like a fancier shallow
Nice.
depth of field one or whatever. But even better, you can add videos to tags. So and videos can be whatever you want them to be. So if you are creating video content that is about a specific thing, you can add in the video content for that specific thing. So it's a little weird, but just imagine for a moment you've got the listing agent and they're talking about that stove. Put the video in right on the stove, and then you can come up and click on it, and they get a tour of the stove. That's
Yep.
very specific, but that is totally possible.
Yeah, helpful. Can you tell me, because I haven't asked this and I've done probably 1,000 eye guides over the years, maybe more. The little arrow that's in the center um, is on the back side of the screen, right? The direction arrow is pointed up, which is the back side of the screen. If I turn the
Correct.
camera, you can see that the arrow is still pointing up, but the room is switching around. Now I have the camera with the back facing away from me, and yeah, you can see how the room orientates. When you're in a space scanning, is it important to place the camera facing a certain direction?
Yes. So very much like the previous systems, they all follow the same general rule, which is point the camera, as in the opposite of the camera, at the thing you think is important. If that makes
I've
sense.
never done that.
Okay, well, this is gonna make your tours better. Look, we're gonna I'm gonna help you out. So if you do that, what'll happen is that the camera will essentially, you know, use that as the center. So that'll be the first thing that people see. So that means that you don't have to set any initial angles or anything. It's just that's it. So think of it like this. When you walk into a room with your regular camera, you just, you point it at stuff that's important.
Yeah.
So this is a 360 camera, so there really isn't composition, but there is still a starting angle. So if you the opposite side of the camera is pointing at something you think is important, it's very natural. You walk in a room, walk to the door, plonk the camera down, point it at the conversation area with the couch and the TV or whatever, and then that's the first thing that people see, which is good, and it helps make floor plan navigation better. So what I mean by that is you have, the floor plan up and someone's like on the iGuide and they're like, I want to see the living room. When they click on it, the first thing they'll see is, the couch and the coffee table and everything as opposed to like a blank wall.
Okay. And sorry, while you were talking, it timed out on me.
Yeah, that's I talked for too long. That's the camera being saucy.
Do you know what the timeout is?
I'm gonna
10
say
minutes.
15 minutes. Did I talk for 15 minutes straight without doing anything? That's crazy. Actually, that's not that crazy. That's pretty on point
It
for
says
me.
scan QR code to connect to camera. Let's see here. I'm not on the camera. There it is.
So there's a few other cool things that while you do this that are related to just the unit like physically. So the
Should we come off a screen share and I can show the camera?
yeah, yeah, well actually why don't you tap the scan button and just take a scan for funsies and then because I'll talk about the image quality as well.
Trying to capture my behind the scenes. Okay.
Like we're just gonna get an inside look and you can blur it out later and do your whole cool setup.
Oh, no problem. I gotta create it. Okay. Let's do project. We'll do six, create main floor.
So what's happening is that for those watching, is that the camera is capturing images and it's capturing the LiDAR data that you see there. And the LiDAR data that was green is what's called live LiDAR data. That means it's what the camera's actually seeing in real time. And then the data that gets captured, that's like a snapshot. There you go. That's a good angle. That's good stuff. And you have a cool office. Fancy schmancy. So the other data that's captured, there's only one scan right now, is it's sort of static, but it is as a slightly different color. So as you capture a property and move throughout the property, you're scanning each space, and then the camera tracks itself through the space, which is quite cool. But the images are that's just a preview, but if you hit it's like a little circular button with like a little mountainscape on it, it will load up the full res image for you. Yeah, and then you can just look around and it is what it is. It takes a minute to kick in, but you can zoom in. And so 60 megapixels is pretty good. A lot of detail there. It's really nice. Using that with the noise
Fortunately
reduction.
for this, there's a lot of details.
I mean, so you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Um, the uh, the Theta X creates really, really detailed images. It's pretty good. The images that come out of the camera are adjusted automatically, but they are typically a little bit flatter than maybe some competition, and that's on purpose
Okay.
because the overall vibe is more about accuracy than, let's say, juiciness.
Yeah.
So if you want to, they're just JPEGs. You can bring them into any software you want, or you can bring them into like the Stitch software, and you can turn the vibrance up as high as you like, make the saturation higher, whatever you like, to make them pop more if you like. But again, that's a subjective thing. It sort of depends on what you're interested in. But the overall vibe is one that's a little more neutral, a little bit less, midnight carnival.
What's this eyeball at the top under next to the panel number?
Good question. So as you scan, the pano numbers will go up sequentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that little thing to the right will automatically hide that on the tour later.
Shut
So
the front door.
yeah, it's super convenient. It was kind of buried before it was there, but people were like, just make it easier. We're like, all right, that makes sense.
Oh, this is great because yeah,
So
yeah, okay,
well, yeah, I mean that's one of the huge advantages, right? Especially over some of the competitors, is that you have full control over what people see and don't see. And so you know when you're shooting, when you're in like a nasty garage. Well, I'm never going to show this. You can just turn it off right here,
yeah,
and then you can still see it. The drafters still get to see it for like, drafting purposes, and then you can always turn it on again later if you wanted to show it. But if there's any question, yeah, just disable it. No one will ever see it. You still get credit because it's like on the floor plan, but no one's going to see all the paint cans and old car parts and stuff. So it's kind of hard to see, but that's what you see there is the live LiDAR, and it's moving around because this camera has a special power. And it does something that I've never seen any other camera do. And that's that is as you walk around, so see how it's snapped back there? It'll track itself in real time as you walk through a space. You only have one space, so it's not
yeah.
going to do much. But
Wait, don't sound very judgmental.
yeah, I'm sorry.
You only
That's
have one
your
space.
office is huge. It's great. I love it.
There you go. Okay.
So
See,
that what it'll do is so imagine you scanned a whole property. This is fun. You can just play with this. You don't need it because you've done it too many guys. But for new people or just for fun, basically you scan a whole property and then just have it on that view and just walk through the property. And it's like GPS. There's a little dot and it's you and it's just walking through. And the reason that that's valuable is that on our end, it doesn't make much of a difference. It's not for, Planitar and iGUIDE. It's
yeah,
for you, the user, because it shows you where you are. So if you're walking through a property and you can see a big empty space,
yeah,
it's like GPS. You look at it and you go, "Oh, I should go there." And then it helps you just do that. And so it helps basically with coverage. So with all capture technologies, regardless of who makes them, no one can tell you really what you need to capture. You have to decide, you
yeah,
know. So what we found is that people struggle with that, deciding what it is they need to capture. And so the goal with this particular feature is to show you what you have captured and your position relative to what you have captured so that you can better decide what you would like to capture. So that's really just kind of like looking at a map in a way and then seeing like a hole and saying, oh, I should probably fill that. And then wayfinding your way over there to capture it. So it's very useful.
I have to tell
People
you
love it.
that coming from the IMS5 world, this is light years ahead. Um,
It's yeah.
it's almost the equivalent of shooting with I don't know tintype back in the Ansel Adams days versus a digital camera on your iPhone now.
Yeah,
As far as
yeah,
orientating yourself with where you're at on a floor plan, I am used to it now, and I can reverse myself in real time and
yeah.
know where I need to go. I have photographers who have just started, and some of them started with the Planix Pro. Some of them I've told them to start from the beginning with the IMS5, and they're like, yeah, there's a learning curve to it. But I think it's good, just kind of for background to train on the IMS5, just to know where things
It-
came from and how you're in the property, so you don't have to walk around with this and try to figure out where you're at all the time.
yeah, it's interesting. So I shot a house when this camera was released 6 times, and I used IMS5, Planix Pro, and R1. And I did them both twice, and it was so funny to see, you know, that progression in the technology because like, and you'll know this because you have IMS5, you had to use so much of your brain
Yeah,
like to think about stuff. But once you get good at it, you're so cavalier. You're just like, oh, I'll just put this here and put that there. You go, fine, I'll figure it out. And so if you can get that, you can achieve, mastery over the system, which involves really leveraging its flexibility. So you'll already know that to do this because you've used IMS5, but the idea that you can capture in a non-linear way, just like whatever you want,
yeah,
is like impossible with other technologies. They don't work like that. But iGuide still has that ability, and it's awesome. And it means that if I go to like I don't know, we'll just use a bigger example, like a manufacturing facility, and I'm scanning this one area, and there's like forklifts and stuff, and it's a bit troublesome, and I get through it, and then I can't get to another area because there's no one can let me in or something.
right,
But it's fine, and then I'll go to another space. Like you can flip flop all over the place if you know what you're doing because you can move that data and combine it later. And what this does is this scanning, real-time tracking SLAM technology is it helps people kind of like learn that the dot is you and the lines are the walls, and it helps them understand the relationship so they can get there quicker. IMS5, you're just thrown to the wolves. Like you just have to figure it out. Which was fun, but not for everybody, maybe.
Everybody got to start with a manual transmission before they can move to automatic.
It's helpful,
It
it's
is.
helpful.
Um, and to that point, I've done a lot of spaces with a lot of clients who don't understand the technology. And with some other cameras, I'm saying, yeah, we have to go in a linear path. We can't just
Yeah.
jump from one room to another. And so the ability to do that with this is huge because to that point, there's spaces that aren't available at a certain time. We have to wait. And do we sit there and wait the whole time for it to
Yep.
be available, or do we go do something else and then come back to it?
The absolute number one problem or obstacle to capturing spaces, this is Chris's opinion here, across every industry. That's residential real estate marketing, commercial real estate, commercial just, or facilities management, capture type stuff, architecture, engineering, construction, is that when you show up, the property is not ready, or there's some stuff that happens while you're capturing that gets in your way. And so
Yeah.
I just absolutely, it's hard to go back. Absolutely love the fact that with iGUIDE you could just work around it still. It's still, the flexibility is just still there. So if the agent shows up and they're like, I need to move this couch and I need to hang a mirror, and oh no, the guy came to install the door, like you're like, all right, sure. I'm not happy about this, but fine. Or if the guy with the keys to the room isn't there, it's no big deal. You can just come back and get it later, Or if you have to go in a sort of really weird, just pattern because it's more efficient, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
There are times where technology like is, comes up directly against like features of a property. So all garage doors for the most part have self closers.
Yep.
There is no data connecting like the inside and the garage sometimes. And it's like, I gotta get a door stop and I gotta like, you don't need to do any of that stuff. You can just, the data just, you
Yeah.
just put it in place, which is nice. You can still do that if you want, get out your door stops and set everything up. But
Swag
yeah.
alert. I have an iGuide doorstop.
Yeah, I have like a lot of them. They're really good.
I bought them on eBay. Not the iGuide one, but I bought doorstops on not eBay, Amazon, and I donate them to properties. Um,
Oh, hold on.
every property needs a doorstop left behind by the photographer who forgot it. Um, but yeah, I've left them at properties, and I've switched to these things called wedgets, which are amazing. I don't know if you've seen them. Um,
No.
oh, let me grab one and show you real quick. I have one here. Wedgets are. Is there anything else on the screen share I need to?
Oh no, you can probably turn it off. I'm going to talk about sort of like accessories because that's the funnest thing. But yeah.
This is a wedget.
Oh, neat.
You could 3D print this probably, but it functions like a regular doorstop.
Yeah.
You can also put it on the hinge.
I was just going to say, is it some sort of, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So a lot of times there's different tolerances.
Yeah.
Sometimes door stops, the doors go right over them. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's not enough room. So this you put on the hinge and it's good. And I think there's other uses you can do with it, but I only use it for that and sometimes for that. But really,
That's smart.
yeah.
My first like probably 500 properties, I used like the toe method where I like hid outside and stuck my foot like,
Oh no, I've used my cell phone at the right angle to.
I for weeks actually I had business cards. I used more business cards to ball up and stick under the door than I ever probably handed out. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you were gonna say physical stuff? Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, well, okay, so this, these are just sort of interesting things that I really appreciated about the physical unit. So this is real nerdy stuff, but I think it's cool because I'm a big nerd. The distance from the base of the camera to the LiDAR is like, so not even the top of the camera, just to the LiDAR scanner, like as in yeah, right there. It's really small.
Yeah.
And so you might think like, who cares? Well, if you want to measure something that's low, that's awesome. So let's suppose you're doing a roof plan and you want to hit the parapet wall, like, it comes up a bit and there's like those little
Yeah.
scupper drains or whatever.
Yep.
You don't have to think about it. Just put it down, you're done. Like it's so easy. before there was like the IMS-5 had a lot of distance, and then
Yeah.
that was brought down with the Planix Pro, but now it's even lower. And so that's just super convenient. It's very easy. There's a sort of bumper guard thing that goes around the 360 camera. I don't know if you can see that. Sort of the plastic thing. So that is designed to keep the camera where it's supposed to be. So it's very easy to imagine that you could, just tap that camera into something. And so it's not
Yeah,
super
just you pick up the
common.
tripod and you're walking upstairs and just
I-
get it up.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. So I'm not saying that the camera is rugged enough for people to smash it into ceilings,
Yeah.
but what happens is that if you tap it, it can become slightly like misaligned. And so this really limits that. And so that's just super convenient. If it taps on something, no big deal. The other really cool thing is that if you look at the bottom, it has like little footies, but it's pretty flat.
Yeah, right here.
So that is really cool because that means you can mount that thing on whatever you want. Any tripod you can think of, you can use. I mean, we don't recommend you use kind of cheap things, but in a pinch, if you needed to use a light stand or something, yeah, go for it. Or you have some tripod head that's real weird, like exotic and strange and humongous or something. Um,
We've been doing work with some companies where we had to get above ceiling tiles.
yeah,
And I recently bought I don't know how tall the light stand is. I'll put it in the description of this video, but I mounted the Planix Pro right to it and just shoved it like, 50
yeah.
feet in the air.
So
Uh,
yes,
and it was good. It was wobbly a little bit at first, but then I just, steadied it and did it with HDR and it captured that dark uh, above ceiling tile space really well.
it's really good. We've done the same with, I think, at work we have like at the office we have like a Manfrotto light stand. But either way, it's really, really tall and it can be a little, wobbly because it's so tall. The center column is so high. And then yeah, I do the same thing. I'll use the drop ceiling as a brace. I'll put it in the corner and then have it, kind of be steady, and then you can take a shot with it. Yeah, putting the camera up above drop ceilings is very cool. And it's because it's nice and small. That's yep, totally doable.
And
Um,
just to go back to your point about where the lidar is, and even just how tall the total height is, we've been doing floor drains for a company. We had to capture floor drains, which are pretty, low to the ground.
yeah,
And when you're on a tripod um, with a competitor that rotates,
yeah,
uh, you can't go. You can only go to a certain height.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, here, I'll show you a thing. Let me grab me my
this, you
favorite
literally just put it
accessory.
on the ground, and then the base of the cabinet door is probably here, so you're still able to capture all that data underneath
Yeah.
it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna grab something. Hold on. It's all just an elaborate flex to show that my background is real. So if you look at this, it's going to be out of focus, unfortunately. This is a QR plate, and I've showed it off for ages. I had it at PMRE, and I put it on a few webinars. It's part of a blog thing that I wrote. But
Yep.
basically, this is a small rig QR plate that has fold-outable feet.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that means you use it as a QR plate, and you just run the camera with it on a sort of Arca style head, and then when you want to put it on the ground, you fold the feet out and plop it down, and then you're really only losing maybe like 3/4 of an inch, give or take.
Well,
Um,
because this is episode 48 of our Conversations with Chris podcast, I happened to listen when you were
See,
talking about it before.
I'm an influencer, right?
You are.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I brought this up like multiple calls we've had.
So I'll tell
I,
you, I bought this, and I haven't used it yet, uh, only because I haven't had the need for it. But if I do need it, I have it, and it's great. Um, yeah, it's good stuff. You can never have too many gadgets.
right? See, it's just that you don't. It doesn't need to be used. You just need to have it just in case. It's one of those things.
You should create an Amazon Associates
I know.
account, because I totally bought this the day, like the minute you were telling me about it last time. I got online and bought it, and you could have got a little commission off of me.
I have told so many people about this thing and then that the printer, oh, it's on the other side,
Yeah,
this printer. Like I really should be having affiliate links. You're
yeah,
right.
should.
Absolutely 100% correct.
All good.
Okay, so in terms of the hot tips, it was use a separate storage device. Very cool. I like that. It was use the sleeve, throw it in whatever bag you want. Very cool. Um, it's in terms of settings, use the sort of high HDR unless you don't care, and then use the sort of low, medium noise reduction and dynamic stitching. Basically, leave it there most of the time, but if you want to change it, you can. And then there's cool accessories like this. You can get it close to the ground, and its slim and light nature allows you to get it up high, get it down low, get it all over the place. And I would say overall, oh, and then I mentioned the slam tracking thing.
Yep.
Overall, the goal of this camera is uh, to be like a culmination of this technology in the sense that it's supposed to get out of your way. It's supposed to be like a very useful tool that allows you to stop fussing with the camera and start worrying more about what it is you need to capture
Yeah.
at a property that's important. So for real estate, that's almost always like what do people need to see for like a listing to, be effective, or when you're doing, something that's more about documenting a property, maybe for to assess condition or to draw plans or something, what needs to be captured to create the deliverables that are necessary to do whatever job that is, or from an insurance perspective to capture that defect. And so that's like this whole camera is designed to get your head there so that you can capture what you need, and be flexible and good. And so the sort of the quality of life issues and the things that I think are cool tricks are mostly like just like extensions of that. Because it's nice to show up with just one bag, and it's nice to have all that data backed up, and it's nice to know that you have settings you can mess around with if you want to make it go faster or slower.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about. Man, I'm drawing a blank. Um, Geez. Oh, lighting. Do you have recommendations on lighting, for example, above ceiling tile? Um,
Do.
how are we? How should we light up a space if we need to, or if we're in a space that doesn't have power and you need some light?
It's an excellent question. So, lighting is fun in the sense that there are a lot of options that you can go with. So we have one that we've sort of, had available to us. It's the Bushman 360 panorama light. Have you seen that before or heard of that?
Maybe I will.
So
Let's see.
it makes sense in the sense that it is a sort of an inline quarter 20 thread top and bottom kind of thing where you kind of put it in your tripod, what's called like assembly or whatever, kind of beneath the camera but above the tripod. And it's like a tube and it just shoots. Yeah, that's the one. And it just shoots light in 360 directions. Okay, very cool. We got one. I played with it a lot. It's awesome. But that might not be the best option for you. And the reason is that it is relatively small. So if you need a really long throw, you might think, well, like, that's not enough. So there are many uh, options now. I don't have any on hand to show you. There's one above my head, hilariously, but I can't pull it down. But basically, video lights are there's tons of them now.
Yeah.
So imagine for a moment that you wanted a solution and you need it off of Amazon Prime and you need it like tomorrow. My hot take, and we've tested it and it totally works, is that you just order a clamp with a thing for, a tripod center column or a tripod leg. So it's a
Yep.
clamp with like a quarter 20 female threaded type deal. And then you order a like a rectangular video light. That's it. And you just screw it on and point it where you need it. And that's it. And we've done it and it works totally well. And if you want more, you add more. So if you want a more robust solution than that, you're going to have to, like, if you wanted to shoot like 1,000 scans with that or something, you'd have to battery pack it up because they don't last
Yeah.
longer than an hour or so. But they have, variable intensity. They're cheap and cheerful. You can get them for 20, $30. The light that you use, I would recommend that you use the one that you have and try that out first. The funny thing is that people have the Milwaukee like lights where you put the
Yep.
battery in. So they're like, well, it's the same battery. It's like, hey, if you have that, I'm not going to recommend you go buy that, but yeah, you can do that if you want. Um, but those rectangular video lights that have the controllable intensity, they're fantastic. They're super cheap. You can get them off Amazon and you can just clamp them right to your tripod and point it where you want. If you want like full 360 coverage, you'd have to add more than one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Bushman looks nice. Wasn't really a fan of that price tag, but I understand it.
A little bit expensive. I mean, it is really cool in that it does a full
Yeah.
360 and it has an integrated battery you can use for other things. But that's not really in some cases. It's good, I think, if you need to add light homogeneously, you don't want shadows, fair. But if you're going for you want a lot of light, like a workplace, like above a
Yeah.
ceiling or something where you need a really long throw, you should probably just clamp some lights like literally to the center column or
Yeah.
the base.
Okay. Cool. Any other thoughts on the R1?
Yeah, I've got just a ton of thoughts. Let me think.
I
No,
got it off
there's
my
nothing
video.
going on up here. I'm about to have child number five. I don't, there's, I was bluffing. Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. It's nice. I have to say, I'm quite happy with the technology overall because it is it's like a refinement or an evolution. I don't know what fancy words you want to use to call it, but of the iGuide, and that you don't compromise on a lot of the stuff that is already awesome. Like you still have access to all your data before you even submit it. Everything's still in like JPEG. You can still edit anything.
Well,
And so that flexibility. Yep. So we're gonna say.
yes. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I had a thought or a question. What you can share, I would love to hear. Um, I I don't remember how long it was between the Planix and the Planix Pro versus the IMS5, but it seems like the R1 came out pretty quick compared to when the Planix Pro was out.
Let me think about it.
Pretty
I
short
think
duration option. So I was just curious, what was there something that prompted? Okay, let's come up with the R1 um, sooner than, or is it just kind of a natural evolution? Okay, let's do something without a thumb drive. Let's do something with SLAM. Let's do, what was the with what you can share? What was the thought process for what I see is having it come out quicker than the Planix Pro did versus the IMS5?
I've got corporate answers for days. I'm not going to get myself in
Okay,
any
okay.
trouble.
I
No,
can
so
always beep beep.
the that's right, that's right. Oh, you're breaking up. Yeah.
Speaking
The
unnecessary censorship.
the R1 enables a bunch of stuff. So I don't want to sell anybody any promises. So I'm not going to say anything about future capabilities.
Yeah,
But if you think about it, the the key thing here is that the processing is no longer occurring on the camera. So the processing is occurring on your phone. And phones really powerful and do crazy things compared to their size.
yeah,
So that just opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for what can be done with the camera. And so iGUIDE has a very, very long, and I'm confident in this history, and quite proud of it, to be honest, that we have launched cameras and then added features.
yeah.
Like they're platforms. They're not just like a camera. Okay, you're done. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like we launch one and then there's like 3, 4, 5 years, and then we launch another one, and they're always going to be better. But then in that time, we add all this extra stuff. And then sometimes we even go back and we add stuff to previous cameras. Like the Planix Pro got Slam, that tracking thing, added, I forget when, but recently. So
Yeah.
sometimes we can back where you can send things back and update previous cameras. But the uh, the difference and the big driver here is that ability to add more capability. And so you can see that in the R1 in this really interesting way. The data that's captured on your smart device is different than what is captured, say, on the USB drive of a Planix Pro, in that it's already processed. It processes while you're capturing. So that means if you want to submit it, you just push a button and that's it. It's just that you just submit it.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Planix Pro, you had to sort of run this little processing thing. You had to sort of send it to your phone and then push a thing and it would sort of process for a bit. And so it doesn't sound like a big deal. You think, so what, it has to process. But when you're talking about capture times of like, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we'll add an extra 5, 6 minutes on, and that's a significant amount of time, even though it doesn't sound like it. So that's, kind of a huge under the hood benefit of moving to this new system that isn't immediately sort of appreciated. But For some people, it's a really big deal. So if you're doing an insurance claim and you want to upload it like from the site, just do it. That is now like absolutely totally possible and makes a lot of sense with the R1. You could still do it with Planix Pro, but it's just much faster with the R1 because of the platform or technology change.
That's one thing I'm excited about using with it is, the process for me previously is even with the Planix Pro is to scan, go home, put the thumb drive in,
Yeah.
process it all in Stitch, upload it.
So
And
that, oh, sorry, go on. Yeah.
I was just going to say the ability to upload when I leave the house, get in my car, it's processing as I'm
Yeah.
driving home, save some time.
Absolutely. So 100%. So the nice thing is that not only will you get that, but you retain the ability to post process in terms of flexibility. So you get, but you don't have to lose. There's no compromise for it. And what I mean by that is that um, you still retain the ability to use like the Stitch software to edit the photos and move things around, do whatever, but it's more like a power tool. Like it's more like an advanced thing that you can use if you want, but if you don't need it, you don't need it. But the best thing about like digital capture or just photography in general is that things don't always go like you planned, right? So having the ability to go in and post and be like, all right, I'll fix it is awesome because it means you can maximize your time like on site to just get what you need, and then the likelihood of getting really good results later is just massively improved because you have that ability to change things later and have more control. So, and it's again, it's transitioning from something that was like a requirement to something more that's just like an optional bonus power tool that people can use if they want it. And it's like that now, basically.
Yeah, and another thing I haven't tried it, is having multiple people running different cameras in different parts of the building and then combining them all. I think I have tried it maybe for a test demo, but not a real life scenario.
We have an interesting system for that that we've settled on, and it's at the moment it's out of your hands, and there's no extra cost to this. The way that we recommend people do it now is that you capture the data, and if you capture it with multiple cameras, you submit it, and then our drafters will, at no extra cost, assemble it for you.
Nice.
Yeah, it's actually it's kind of awesome.
Are you just
Um,
uploading multiple Stitch files?
Exactly. That's what you do. So you basically upload the project, you create it, you do everything, and then you just upload everything else as like an update, and then they'll just do it all for you,
Okay.
which is really nice and it's easy. Um, but you can very easily with the R1 run multiple cameras because of that whole QR code thing. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you have like five people and you try to have five cameras and you try to connect to five separate, yeah, you don't know their numbers or anything. You don't have to. You just go up, you scan the QR code. Okay, that one's mine. You can go. So
Yeah.
it really does suit multiple camera capture scenarios. So you can get through these giant buildings like really quickly, and like a team can go in and just, capture the whole thing bit by bit.
Nice. Um, okay. Well, we covered a lot.
That was a lot. I'm sorry.
It's all good. We yeah, I think this will be a good video to put out there, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of good feedback on it. Um, any last words?
I mean, thanks for
You
having me. I
said
don't know when you're going to start your podcast, but I volunteer.
is that going to be a reprieve from you on your family time off, or is you'll
Doing your
you'll
podcast? Sure.
have to wait? You're like, honey, I gotta go.
Got a podcast. I got to bounce. Sorry. You're going to have to change this diaper. I'm out. Yep.
No, that's exciting. Well, congratulations on the new arrival coming. And you said you're off for a while, but if anybody has comments, feedback, leave them in the description, and I'll message them to you.
Perfect.
Uh, and yeah, I appreciate your time, and I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's see here.